Hello, everyone, and welcome to your first day of class. I'm Marketing Communications Manager and faculty member Daniel Sloan, and on behalf of Trident, I want to say thank you for taking the next step in your educational journey with us. New students often have a lot of questions, and we are here to help. As a way to ease you into our unique student-centered model, we've designed this webinar that will cover all the areas vital to success in your chosen program. Let me introduce today's presenters. First, we have Dr. George Del Hierro, who's currently a department chair in University College. During his time at Trident, he has worked closely with students in a variety of roles, including academic advising, financial aid, and academic probation support services. Dr. Del Hierro earned a PhD in educational leadership from Trident and has received numerous awards during his time at the university, including honors for communication and collaboration and student motivation. He is a passionate advocate for student success. Next, we have Tasha Cureton. She currently serves as a Student Success Advisor 3 and part-time faculty member. For the past 10 years, she has helped facilitate initiatives to improve student success, namely as senior manager in the Center for Student Success. From assisting with orientation to being a member on the Committee of Academic Standards, her passion is to help students reach their academic dreams. Joining us during the Q&A session will be Christina Sines, Student Success Advisor 3 in our Center for Student Success. She's held a number of roles during her 10 years at Trident, including Supervisor of Graduate Advisors. Her dedication to meeting student needs is demonstrated through compassionate, active listening, seeking to understand and striving to act in the best interests of her students. Just a couple notes before we begin the session. Although a portion of the webinar has been pre-recorded, you have the option to ask questions at any time. Look for the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, find a question box, type in your question, and hit submit. The FDOC team is behind the scenes right now. Let us know if you have any questions. We'll answer them during the live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Now I'm going to hand things off to Tasha to talk about student success tips. The floor is yours, Tasha.
Thanks, Daniel, and welcome everybody. We're so excited to have you here. I love Trident University. I've been a student, I teach, and I wear many different hats, and I work with students very closely. So this is an exciting time for you to start on your educational path. Here's some things that we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about tips for success. I'm going to spend some time really digging in there. It can be a little nerve-wracking when you haven't done school for a while, or it's just a totally new environment. And so we want to make that transition as smooth and comfortable as possible for you. Dr. Del Hierro is going to talk about academic writing. That tends to be one of the main concerns with students when they're coming back to school is, how do I write? How do I get back in the mode of formatting my paper? And then we're going to talk about career and networking support. But I would ask everyone to stick around for what I think is one of my favorite parts of the webinar, which is the questions section. We always have great questions, and there's a great student success story at the end, so stay tuned. Now we're going to talk a little bit about just tips for success and moving into your classes for the first time. So whether you've been away for years, maybe this is your first class in college, or maybe you're just transitioning right into a different school, we want you to be confident. Everyone here has a different walk of life, and you all bring different perspectives. Whether you're a stay-at-home parent, maybe you're a veteran or advanced in your career, or maybe like one of my 89-year-old students who came back and got a master's degree, you're in another season of life and you're ready to move forward. So what I mean by that is, know that your perspective will enhance the conversation and your discussions in your class, and you are worthy to be here. So feel free to ask questions. Know that you're supported. We're going to talk about your support team. Get to know your professors and peers. As faculty members on here, we often see students a little nervous to reach out to us, and there's no need for that. We want you to feel connected as a university and between you and the student. You as the student, my apologies. We're going to talk a lot about time management and long-term academic planning, but most importantly, have fun. And this will help with your motivation. This is something, if you ever get stuck or just feel like things are difficult, that's when it's time and a trigger should go off that you need to reach out and connect with us. And we are here and we genuinely want to help. So let's start by talking about time management. And this is something very near and dear to my heart. As Danny Sloan said, I got my master's degree at Trident University. At the time, I was a manager. I had a very extremely premature baby. I was in the office a lot and managing life and work, and I wanted to get my master's degree. So I can relate to trying to balance it all. One of my rules was when I got home from work, I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch. And the reason I say that is because it is so easy, especially these days, to just sit down, watch some TV, or get on your phone and just kind of veg out. By staying off the couch, my rule was then I wasn't allowed to sit on the couch until I went and did my homework. So that kind of comes up to our first point, which is create a time management plan. This might be new for some of you, or some of you might live and die by your planner. And so if this is new for you, think about it this way. You're creating a plan to succeed. When I see students not creating a plan, sometimes I challenge them to do so, and usually they come back and are able to submit more on time. They're able to figure out when they want to go to school for themselves. No one here is telling you to go to school at what time, right? Usually you have a certain amount, whether if it's your CERT program, you have a week, or if it's your master's, associates, or bachelor's, you have 2 weeks to do your module. And so anytime within there, you need to set aside a few nights or maybe mornings, whenever you think best and you have time dedicated to make that your school time. So when your friends call and they miss you because they haven't seen you in a while, you've got schoolwork to do and you want to plan your life around that. Now, Trident is all about flexibility too. And so consider weekends, holidays, birthdays, vacations. We want you to have a life, but you're now fitting this new component into your schedule. And if you don't make time for it, there just won't be time for it. And so I love to see a student with a plan. If that's something you can do today, get out your planner. I use my planner here. I have a wall calendar that you can see here in the back, and I have a digital calendar. So I am all about scheduling your schoolwork. And in the beginning, you may want to go in every day for even 15 minutes just to get a sense of what do you need to accomplish the things and to kind of feel like you're in the rhythm of school. Because I always tell students, in your first few sessions, always take classes back to back so that you can get into a good rhythm. Because once you get out of that rhythm, sometimes it's hard to jump back in. So write down your due dates. The bachelor's and master's and associate's classes are usually due on Sunday nights. So I would always say try and do your first discussion the first week of the module and your peer responses the following week. If you have questions about this, we can talk more in the Q&A section as well. And make adjustments to your schedule, but I think the key is to just have a plan, right? Don't get discouraged when you fall behind. Again, as I mentioned before, that's kind of that trigger. If you're falling behind, you may think, oh, well, I don't want to give excuses, or this is just on me. Trust me, we understand what it's like to be adults and to have things come up. And so we can't help you if we don't know what's going on. And it's not to judge you. It's not to be upset with you. It's to say, hey, that's okay. Look, you still have time to do this, or maybe we can help you with this option. Again, there are options and exceptions if needed. And that's something that there are eligibility requirements, but we want to help you with. So let's talk a little bit about who you're going to be reaching out to in that support group. When you log into your student portal today on the homepage of mytlc.trident.edu, you will see 2 photos, and those are consider that kind of like your support team, right? There's going to be your student finance advisor, and there's going to be your student success advisor. Hey, maybe some of you guys have my face on there. You never know. I do support a lot of students, and I love it. And so in addition to that, right now, if you've just started your program, you are working with your admissions advisor. You've probably hopefully you built a good rapport with them. And once they get you all set up in class and started in class, within the first 2 weeks, they're going to transition you over to someone like myself, a student success advisor, who is then going to become your point of contact. I'd always encourage you to save their phone number, note when they email you. I always try to only email my students when it's something important that I want them to know. And so just kind of start to get in the groove of checking your emails every day, or we text and we call. So, and then finally, the other piece to that puzzle is your instructor. Now that will change from session to session, but they don't know what they don't know, right? And so if you're not submitting work and they don't know what's going on with you, they're just assuming maybe they're not interested in class, or you just don't want to leave any room for assumption. So I would always say, even just email your teacher and give them an update about what's going on, or if you have any questions, or maybe there's something that you like about the class. So just know that although you're alone in your room or at your desk doing your work, you're not alone. You are part of this bigger Trident family. And so I really hope that when you make it to our commencement and you watch the video or you attend in person, that you can see that you are a part of a much bigger, huge Trident family. All right, so now we're going to talk about some of our resources. You may be wondering, okay, what is there available for me that's going to help me transition and getting started in school? So in your mytlc.trident.edu portal, there is across the top several options, and one of them on the far right says My Resources. Here you'll see a list of resources available to you. Math and writing tend to be a big thing that students are concerned about, rightfully so. Usually students will be nervous about managing their time and writing and doing the academic piece. If you can manage your time, you've got half of the battle won. Now here's the resources that could help. We do use APA formatting as our general formatting style for the school for papers. Now, it is important to note that that's what we stick with, but it's depending on your assignments, it might not be required. Like in a math class, they might not ask that you do APA. We are in the transition right now. Some classes are using edition 6 and some 7. That is something that is in the process of transitioning. So I'd always ask your teacher, but the key is I would encourage you to start to get to know that. A quick Google search and you will find so much information on that. But don't be worried, don't be overwhelmed by it. Learning is a gradual process, right? And then the Turnitin guide, which is something to kind of help you ensure that your work shows as your original work. The next thing that we're going to talk about is tutoring services. So if you see on this next slide that you are in one of these classes, English 101, Math 101, Statistics and Math 201, Health Statistics, Operations Management, Finance, or any of the TUX courses, there is something, and you'll see on here on the screen, that's called free tutoring. What this is we've partnered with tutor.com. And so if you're like me, you stay up late and you do your homework after the kids are in bed and everything's done. And so you can access a tutor anytime, 24/7. And it usually takes about 1 to 2 minutes to connect, but it's a great option if you're just feeling like, I just need to ask a few questions, or am I doing this right? So I'd encourage you to use that. The next is one of my favorite options or resources, because it's something that I help facilitate. Every day I'm in this orientation helping new students answer questions, have discussions. So if you have not done that as of today, please go in and before you go into your class, complete the online orientation. You'll have access to it for up to 6 months after you start your program, but it's by far the best way to go in and learn the portal, learn the classroom, and how you can navigate, how you can find your teachers, how you can participate in discussion. You can practice submitting work to make sure that you do it correctly. And I'm in there every day answering questions and just making sure people feel comfortable. And usually the feedback is that, oh my gosh, this is what helped me and overcome that hump and feel comfortable. Next, we're going to talk about just kind of first steps to do. I've kind of laid the groundwork now, but go in, log in to your class, do your orientation, and take a tour of your class. There's not much that you can click on that's going to break your class, or there's really not anything that could break it. But sometimes people are a little nervous. Just click around. There's different ways to access different information. And so the more time you spend in the class, the more you're going to feel comfortable. Look over the syllabus, read the assignments, and post your introduction. I always say the introduction is the easiest part. You literally just go in and say, hi, this is me, a little bit about me. And then you get to read about your peers and see that you might have a lot in common or something to learn from the peers in class. Ask questions and develop your time management plan. So that's kind of like the pre-gaming for the class, right? You want to make sure you've read the syllabus, you've read everything, but don't feel overwhelmed. I always felt in college, like the first week of class, that it was a lot of information, but then over time, you get reminders, you check your schedule, and you're doing good. And so develop that plan and check in with your advisor. I always, whenever I see a student that I don't know, I call them. I'm like, I need to know you because we haven't spoken yet. And I truly want to know them and what their goals are. So in summary today, you're going to log in, you're going to complete your orientation, you're going to introduce yourself in your class. And then I would encourage you by midweek, usually by Wednesday, to submit at least your module 1 discussion post. That's different than your introduction. That's an actual assignment discussion post. Keep in mind, teachers are bound to a rubric. What is a rubric? It is a list of criteria that the student needs to meet for each assignment. And so you can see even in your class, okay, if I submit it on time, I'm going to get like full points, or, you know, they require this many words, so I get this many points. So always look at your rubrics. For all of our assignments, every module is 3 assignments. You're going to have your case assignment, your SLP, and your discussion post. Most classes have 4 modules. I think pretty much all of them. And sometimes your SLP might be a quiz or a paper. Your case assignment typically is a paper or an activity in that regard. Get to know your professors, set up your work area, and just be ready to go. And I would say as soon as you get your first discussion in, try to write a paper maybe by the weekend so that you don't have your case assignment, your SLP the second week of class. Or if you do both of them in the second week, it's no problem. But just make sure that you kind of know each day what you're going to be working on and submitting. And so my last advice is just really reach out, and we don't want you to feel alone. I always tell my students, I am full of the most random information. And so you don't know unless you ask. Maybe you can't find a resource in the library. Maybe you aren't sure how to set up text to get a grade notification. We can help you with that. So that being said, I'm excited for you. Hopefully that this information was helpful. I'm going to turn the time over to Dr. Del Hierro, and he's going to discuss one of the topics that I think is really crucial, and get ready to take some good notes. We're going to talk about academic writing. Dr. Del Hierro, I turn the time over to you.
On behalf of the faculty, I just want to extend my warmest welcomes to all of you. It's always the most exciting time of the month for us to welcome in a brand new crop of leaders into the Trident family. And so We all look forward to interacting with you, getting to know you, and seeing what great things you accomplish in and out of the classroom. So this section focuses on academic writing. It's one of the points of concern for some students, especially who have been out for a while. It causes some anxiety, and so the goal of these next couple slides are just to relieve some of that anxiety and give you some direction to build momentum. So Michael mentioned it, but these first couple days, it's going to be really imperative for you to get the wheels going. And so I hope to provide a broad overview of what your faculty will expect of you with writing, and to relieve some of that anxiety for you. This first slide is it's meant to frame your mindset for what the expectations are within academic writing, and why and how is it different from what you might be used to within your military experience or business experience. So the three key differences that I want you to think about between business and / military and academic writing are the goals of writing, the process of writing, and voice. And so when you're in the military, so the first one is the goals of writing. If you're going to graduate from an accredited institution, you're expected to have a high degree of written and oral communication skills. And so that is kind of what we're helping prepare you for upon graduation. So the first point that I want you to think about is the goal of writing. So when you're in a business environment and when you're in a military environment, your goal of writing, the only purpose you're writing is for mission accomplishment and to accomplish objectives. The difference within what you're going to find in an academic environment is that the goal of writing is to help you become a better communicator. And so there are some steps and some areas that we look for as your faculty to help you become a better thinker and to help you become a better writer, a more effective writer. So for example, within the military and in business, you're writing to accomplish this objective as quickly and efficiently as possible. And when you're in your academic classes, we're looking for your logic and rational thought development of your ideas. So sometimes this comes out when you're answering questions as maybe a 1 to 2 sentence or a 1 to 3 sentence reply to answer a question, because you're in that mindset of answering the question and giving the conclusion as quickly and efficiently as possible. But that's not the only thing. That's actually not the most important thing that your faculty is looking for. It's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for the reasons why and how you came to those conclusions, your critical thinking skills, and your logic and your rational thought development. And so that takes more time, and it takes more effort to lay out those arguments and to do the research from different sources and integrate the background readings into your experience to support your conclusion. So your faculty member is not just looking for the answer. We're not just looking for the conclusion. We're looking for your reasons why, the thinking and the evidence behind it, and your logic and your rational thought development. The second area of that's a challenge or the difference between military and business writing versus academic writing is the process of writing. So when you're in a business environment or you're in a military environment, your superior would give you a command or an objective to write up a memo or write this up or write that up, do a report. You pass it off to your superior edits it, adds a couple things, passes it off to their superior, and before a decision is made, there's 2 or 3 hands that have touched this document. That's different than what you're going to find here and what your experience will be in an academic environment, because you are the single author of this document, of this assignment. So you have to go through the brainstorming. You have to go through the outlining and the editing and the drafting and the formatting, and all those things take time. And so you have to consider those elements when you develop your time management plan for these classes. The third key difference is voice. So if you haven't noticed, especially in the military, you're big on uniforms. I mean, you're dressing the same, you're often talking the same, and sometimes that comes out in your writing. That comes out in your writing, and so that causes some issues because it raises some concerns for academic integrity issues. So we want you to be aware of that. Your instructor will be looking for your independent understanding of these concepts. And so we're looking for you to paraphrase different ideas from a variety of different readings and background sources. We're looking for you to summarize some of these ideas in your own words. So quotations are great, but your instructor will care more about your understanding of these concepts. And that is different than stripping out a quotation and sticking it in your paper. It's fundamentally different, and it takes a lot more critical thinking and a lot more time and effort to summarize these different ideas in your own words and put them in. But that is what your instructor is looking for. And if you consider these things, you will reap the benefits of this program upon graduation, and I promise you will become a more effective communicator and contributor to your organizations. The next slide is just meant to give you a general overview of academic writing structure. And so this is not an all-inclusive slide. These are just some tips that as an instructor, I see students kind of missing these points. And so as a writer that you may not have as much experience in an academic environment, or maybe you've been out for a while, I hope that this gives you some direction to get the wheels going and build up that momentum early on. And so there are more resources, more in-depth resources like the ones that Michael mentioned within the Writing Center and our resources drop down. So please make use of that. But here I just want to frame your mind into what we're looking for in terms of structure and content. So there's basically going to be three main parts of your essay: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And so your introduction is kind of like any presentation you may give, like a PowerPoint presentation. You always have a first slide that tells your audience what you're going to be talking about and why it's important. And so that's your introduction paragraph. You're just going to be basically presenting an overview of what you're going to be talking about and why it's important. So I want you to think about this because there's an important statement in your introduction that your instructors look for, and it's called a thesis statement. Essentially, this tells your reader what the purpose is of your essay. And so a great way for you to know what your instructor is looking for is to look at the module learning outcomes. So every module, you have 4 modules. Every module will have learning outcomes on the home page. So every module will have learning outcomes for every assignment on the home page. That is basically what your instructor is looking for, and that is what your instructor will be looking for or measuring your understanding of those concepts. And those are great statements to put into your introduction paragraph, and to help ground you when you're answering these questions. So in addition to the learning outcomes, your assignments will have like 3 or 4 questions that you have to answer. Use those learning outcomes as like the lenses to view those questions. So address the learning outcomes through answering the questions. So consider that with your thesis statement development, and definitely make use of those module learning outcomes because they give you what your instructor is looking for on each assignment. From there, you got your body paragraphs. And so the best recommendations I could give you when you're first getting going in your writing is to break up those questions into sections and subsections using headers and subheaders. So just like on a PowerPoint presentation, you have headers that tell your reader or tell your audience what this slide is about. Same thing within your essay. Include a header, include subsections within that make it overtly obvious to your instructor that you are addressing this part of the assignment. This is the key term that you're going to be addressing. So not only does it provide some structure for you for your essay, but it also makes it very obvious for your instructor that you are hitting all those points within your assignment. And so again, going back to the content of your assignment, is your instructor looking for the conclusion? Yeah, sure, we're looking for your answer to the question, but again, we're looking for the reasons why. And so when you draft your paragraphs, I kind of want you to think about aiming for about 4 to 7 sentences. Trust me, nobody's going to be counting your sentences out, but I think it's a good guideline for you, because if you're going below that 4-sentence mark, then you're probably being a little bit too brief or concise, and you're not exploring the topics or discussing the topics in detail. So make sure you're going back and citing some evidence from your background readings. Again, we're looking for APA citations and some evidence, some objective research and evidence to support your conclusions. And if you're going above that 7-sentence mark, then you're probably rambling on too much, or you could make that into a more concise structure to better highlight your ideas, or you just need to break up that longer paragraph into some more paragraphs, into maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. But you don't want to go on and on a page and a half of text, of block text. You really want to break that up into small sections and subsections, include those headers, and make it really easy for your instructor to pick out those main points. If you're struggling, again, I talked about the thesis statements above, but if you're struggling in terms of how to start a paragraph and what your instructor is looking for, I always mention these points right here. Define the key term, explain the application of the key term to the assignment, and then discuss why the concept is important to either the module learning outcome or just the class in general. Specifically, and with specific focus to the module learning outcome. So those 3 points, I think if you cover those, that should get you to that 4 to 7 mark. Include some evidence in there to support your ideas, and that's a great way of just getting started. This is not going to be the perfect way. I can promise you that your instructor will give you feedback, but it's really important for you to take that feedback and then just continue to build upon it. Your instructor is not looking for perfection. In fact, you shouldn't expect that of your instructor. We're here to make you better communicators and better critical thinkers. That's our value. That's our objective. And so when you explore these concepts in a variety of different ways by defining and explaining and discussing the value of these concepts, you're in essence exploring these concepts from a variety of different ways, and you're thinking about them in different ways. So consider that when you're drafting up your assignments. And then the conclusion paragraph is the last part of your assignment, and it really just reflects, it's just kind of like a reflection of your introduction. Your introduction is telling your audience what you're going to be talking about, why it's important, and your conclusion is going to be basically stating what you already have talked about and why that's important. And so they're mirror images of each other. Again, this is not an all-inclusive, these are not all-inclusive suggestions. It's just simply to get the wheels going, and over time you're going to receive more detailed feedback from your instructor to become a better written communicator, a better writer. And so I just highly suggest that you accept that feedback, and with willing and open arms. So I hope that helps. Again, refer back to the resources under the writing resources under the resources tab if you need some more in-depth advice. Always reach out to your instructor, because we love hearing from you and we love to support you in this process. Honestly, it is our honor to serve you. So please make use of us.
Thank you, Dr. Del Hierro. We also have resources to help students outside of the classroom. First, there's Alumni Fire, which is for all current students and Trident alumni. The URL is on your screen now. This is a place where you can connect with other students, alumni, faculty, and staff to get advice on your education, career, and more. For more information, reach out to alumni at trident.edu. We also have Career One Stop, which is a source for career skills development, such as resume reviews, interview practice, and more. This can be accessed on the front page of your student portal right after you log in. If you have any questions on that, reach out to Trident Trident.careers@trident.edu. That's Trident, the number 4, careers@trident.edu. And now we're going to move on to today's Q&A. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the new session. Let's give everyone a moment to get on, and also give myself a moment to fix my volume so there's not an echo for everyone. Okay, great. So hopefully those presentations helped everyone get prepared for your first classes as you begin that slow and steady march to graduation day. Joined by our helpful panel today. And first question we have today is for you, Jamie. Just give me a second to see what it was. I have a student who's asking about submission deadlines for assignments. When are the case assignments due, and when are SLPs due, or session-long projects?
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm one of the student success advisors. So the question is, when are SLPs and case assignments due? Our modules are 8 weeks. They're due. Your modules are due every 2 weeks. So Sundays at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we have to pay attention to the time zones and where you're located and the time the assignments would be due. So always think Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Hi, everyone. This is George. I just want to piggyback off of that. I mean, pretty straightforward with the deadlines, but with this question, we also get the question of what happens if we're falling behind the due dates, and is there flexibility with that? And the answer to that is yes. So if we're completely, we are used to our adult student population, with emergencies happening or unexpected family events or what have you. So if you are falling behind, please reach out to us. That way we can be flexible with those due dates, and you're not being docked points. On the other end, oftentimes students ask if they can submit ahead of those due dates, and the answer to that question is yes. One of the advantages and the strengths of being at Trident and being part of the Trident system is that flexibility, and so you have the opportunity to work ahead. My only word of caution to you with that is that if you work too far ahead and you're not receiving the feedback from your faculty member, you risk missing really important information to improve upon your scores. So always reach back for that, or look back at that feedback from your faculty member, and then also always communicate with them if you are going to be working ahead or falling behind. That way they can be kept in the loop and make sure you're getting the best out of the class, most out of the class, and that you're both on the same page. So I just wanted to slide that in there.
Yeah, that's great advice. And yeah, I only have experience teaching a couple classes so far, but one point there was really important, and saw the app in one of my classes a couple sessions ago. A student who submitted all their assignments for the session in a span of a week, and she did not have the benefit of getting the feedback. So I actually worked out a schedule with her, because she was going on assignments and a military student, so she could get the benefit of feedback, and her grade changed dramatically. So definitely heed that advice. Dr. Del Hierro is one of the best in that department.
I also sorry, Dan, I just wanted to quickly say, with the discussions, those are the module ends, along with the due dates, but that also applies to the extensions. My best recommendation to you with the extensions is that there is a timeliness requirement for the discussion posts. I always recommend hopping in and posting the first day of the module. We recommend, before Wednesday or whatever that deadline is, or that recommended deadline. But again, there's flexibility there. But one of the things that your professor looks for within the discussion is consistent participation. So set up a regular schedule for yourself. Maybe once every other day, hop in and do a couple posts, or the first day, do your initial post and then hop in on a Friday or the next week, so that you can, 1 or 2 days the next week. That way you can see your professor can see a regular, consistent participation from you. It's really not a discussion if you're coming in on the deadline, on the due date on Sunday, and just posting three posts. You're actually losing points, and you're not getting the benefit of the discussion, and your instructor will notice that. So I would just recommend having some consistent participation in the discussion at least once a week, but preferably, it's probably more ideal to set yourself up for like at least once every other day, or 2 or 3 times a week. So just wanted to throw that in there as well for the discussion.
Yeah, I would look at it as throwing it in there. It's like I'm just tossing in this really valuable, important advice, and it definitely is. And I think that just to put a cap on that is just keep in mind SLP discussions, case studies. They're, even if it may not seem like it, they are all interrelated in some way, shape, or form. So what you may talk about in discussion could impact your case or SLP, or vice versa. So keep that in mind.
And the discussion is worth 20% of your overall grade. So if you're not participating in the discussion, you're losing out on those points. So don't, if you're not posting anything, you get a big 0. So set yourself up for success. There's always a reflection discussion post at the end, which is also worth 20 points. So it's basically free points. Don't leave points on the table.
If Tasha was here, that's was ripped straight from her quote book. So, Christina, question for you. Student asking, are classes held every day or only on certain days of the week?
Well, I guess you would look at it as that it's not like a live class per se, typically, so you don't have mandatory login times or times that you have to be logged in unless the professor arranges like an in-person or like a Zoom or something like that. So so I mean, but back to what Dr. Del Hierro was saying is that the more regularly you're engaged in logging in, the more likely you are to be successful because you're regularly checking in. So I think it's more about making a schedule that works for you and what you need to do, so that it works because everybody on here is going to have a different schedule.
I think the fancy name for it is asynchronous learning, but it's part of Trident's flexibility. We have people in Okinawa, we have people in St. Louis, we have people all over. As long as you heed Dr. Del Hierro's advice and advice Jamie and Christina given, meet your deadlines. It's learning that can be worked around your schedule. And Christina, I'm actually going to stick with you because I think this one's right down your alley. Is that
okay.
I can't find out how much the orientation is worth. Is that something that's graded?
So the orientation is mainly for practice, and so the orientation is not worth points per se, but there are practice assignments in there. So there are points associated with them, like maybe just for the SLP assignment, but by and large, you were mostly just doing the assignments in there for practice before the actual session began. But since it's began today and you had early access last week, we really want students to focus on, you know, the early access and getting into the new class. So orientation is mostly for, you know, before early access, but you can still be using it now though.
I'll just piggyback here on that response. So I do know that there is an assignment within Tux, and so Tux for you new undergraduate students is basically the Trident University experience. It's kind of to set you up for the remainder of your program. And I do believe there is an assignment within the orientation that is graded within Tux. So the orientation itself is for everybody, for
right.
all students. It's not worth any points. It's completely, it's for your benefit. You have the option of taking it or not taking it, or even to scan through, you know, with whatever is most meaningful to you. So I don't know the exact assignment and how much that it's worth, but I will say that every module has those 3 assignments: the case, the SLP, and the discussion. The case is worth 50 points. The SLP is worth 30 points, and then the discussion is worth 20 points. So there's a total of 100 points there. So whatever that assignment is, it might be an SLP within the orientation. It'll be worth 30 points, just like all other SLPs are worth within the class.
Yeah, and I guess to clarify on the threaded discussion standpoint, we have a question about this, and I guess for this, stick with Dr. Del Hierro, and the question is that to make sure the responses to my classmates or peers, those are also worth points, correct?
Yes. Yeah, so everyone has to do an original post, and then I believe the minimum requirement is 2 responses to students. So you might be thinking, then why would you recommend doing more than that? Well, see, here it goes again. If someone tells you to, so many of our students say, look at this and say, well, the expectation is just 1 post and 2 replies, and that's all they do. But oftentimes those replies can be short, or maybe they're missing the mark a little bit. So your instructor will pose questions to you, so you can either reply to your student, to your fellow classmates, or to your instructor. So the more posts you have, the more you're setting yourself up to maximize the amount of points you're getting for those discussions. So you do have to reply to at least twice. You have to have 1 original post and then 2 replies, either to your instructor or classmates. But hop in there, do more, because oftentimes those discussion posts, especially as new students, you may not, they may underestimate the amount or what's expected out of the reply. So I would recommend doing more than just 2 replies. Don't just stop there.
And this question didn't come up, but it comes up a lot. And I think it's basically, Trident's 100% online. How do I meet other people? And yeah, the thread discussion, that's 20% of your grade. Respond to your classmates, but it's also a networking exercise, and it's a good way to meet people, get a sense of their experience and background, and it's also a good way to get, for your professor to get to know you better, because if you're doing it right, you should be leaving here with some connections with fellow students, faculty.
So real quick, I think the question was, how much are the replies worth? And I think there is a part in the rubric where I think there are different parts that are actually graded. So your original post, your replies to students, are they substantive enough? Are you meeting the minimum requirements? So it's not, if you just post then you get points. I think in total, your total response between like the amount of content, like the substance of your post plus the replies, I think total it can be like anywhere between 8 to 12 points. So you want to make sure you're responding well and thoroughly to the discussion prompt and your classmates, because I believe it's about half of your discussion score for each module.
Yeah.
Just for
yes, that's correct. And the first, I believe the original post, I believe it's at least 150 words, and replies are at least 75 words, which may seem like a lot, but it's actually not at all. You'll cover that much quicker than you think. And let's shift it back to Jamie, because I feel bad because it's been a little quiet recently, but have military student, and they want to know what's the best way to communicate with their advisor if they do have to go out in the field.
It's a great question because it depends on what your capabilities are. So we are able to communicate with students via text, through email, through phone. So it's what you have access to, because we do know that sometimes students go into the field and they don't maybe have access to a computer, but they have their phone and they can text us messages. And if you need us to connect with the professors, we can, because you send us a message, we can reach out to professors on your behalf. So whatever is the best means of communication for you. I can't say you need to call me when you don't have access to a phone that you can actually call on. So, I mean, I have students who are in Europe who they don't want to use their phone because they're charged minutes. So we email communicate a lot. So it's whatever you're comfortable with the communication and what you have access to.
Great, thank you, Jamie. And looks like we have one more question. If you have any other questions, just a reminder, you can submit them via the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, about halfway down. If something comes in late, we'll follow up with you afterwards. But Christina, a question about Tux. Every new student to Trident has to take either Tux 101 or 301, correct? I just want to confirm that these are not options, and they are the only class that can be taken during the first session.
Yes. Yes. So it is a requirement depending on how much credits you're transferring in, whether you go into like a 101 or 105 or 301. So, but they're all based off of like how much college experience that we would perceive that you would have so far. So that then, basically you're basically learning like how to, it's the Trident experience. So you're learning, how to use the portal, how to write a scholarly paper. So they each have their own, requirements, but it is something that can't be transferred in because it's meant to, allow students to get familiar with the Trident learning model. And so it's required for all. In the bachelor's programs, right? Because I think in master's they don't have it, but it's we expect that a student in master's would have, more comfort with education. So
if the associate bachelor students takes the Tux class, where the master's level students and doctoral students obviously do not take it.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about it, but
Okay, great,
yeah.
Thank you. And then, so that's all we have. So thank you everyone for your participation. Thank you, Jamie, Christina, Dr. Del Hierro, for all the great insight. Hopefully help students out. We had several thank yous already. And I'm gonna pivot to Jamie. She's gonna end today's webinar with a student success story. So good luck everyone this session. And yeah, just don't forget, don't be afraid to communicate with your advisor, people like Jamie and Christina, or your faculty members, people like Dr. Del Hierro. We are here to help. So Thank you, and see you on graduation day.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to share a student success story. So it's one of my own personal students. we'll just name him James for sake of anonymity. He was a master's level student. He was earning his master's of arts with a concentration in sports performance, leadership, and he was an active duty Air Force. During his times with his classes with Trident, he did have moments where he was close to being academically disqualified. His mother had passed away, PTCS, and then he got a new job and a promotion, which are huge things in life that could interfere with taking classes. There were moments he just wanted to quit his program altogether, but with the support of Dr. Schmidt, which is the dean, the SSA, which is me, and the professors who are great, James was able to achieve his goal. I was able to take time to listen to his concerns, and rather than focusing on negatives in his life, we would review the positives that were going on. He had secured the position. He had a supportive wife and family at home, and we started to focus on the goals. So James and I would work together as a team, and we would plan a success, how he was going to be successful in a class. So that's important. Get to know your SSA. That's the person you're going to be in contact with until you graduate. They are your teammates. So James and I, since I knew he was interested in sports, we looked at it as I was his teammate. We had a common goal of getting him to graduation and what we needed to do to come across that finish line. As the school, we also supported James in his education because that's what he was here for. We were able to financially assist James with scholarships. Professors, again, reach out to your professors. They are here and they want to help you. They take time to help in moments where maybe things weren't clear in the classroom. And I was there to support him to help develop a plan. There are so many people available to support you as you go through your program. During James's final section of his degree, his family ended up moving to Indiana. His wife and kids moved first. He's in his capstone class. He got a promotion, and he had to follow. He followed the family about a month later. He was retiring from the Air Force. He retired. He was then able to secure a position as a business marketing teacher. He was able to complete and pass the practice exam in Indiana, the state of Indiana, and earn a teaching license, where he is a workplace specialist that is, as they said, exceptionally well qualified due to his experience in education. So they look at everything. He emailed my manager and indicated the support that he received from Trident helped him be successful in the classes. And we kept him on track to finish. It may not have been pretty and it may not have been a smooth transition, but sometimes slow and steady wins the race. And as he said, as a perfect stranger helped to keep him in line. We're here to support you. Communication is key. Reach out to us anytime. Even if you email us in the middle of the night because you're thinking of something, we're here to help you get through to your education. So just so you know, James, we were able to get him to graduation. He started his program back in November of 2017. He was able to earn his degree November of 2021. And this may seem longer than normal, but he did it. He made it to the finish line. So that's all that matters. We got to get you to the finish line, and we're here to support you through that. So I thank you for attending the orientation, and we look forward to supporting you on your educational journey to graduation. And I hope you have a good day and do great things. Take care, have a beautiful day, and great holiday since that's right around the corner.